Thank you.
The Alt tab thing is a huge success.
Yeah, it seems a bit tricky, is it? Let's see if I have everything. Erik's notes, my notes. Do we have a zapper? Does this thing work? Tony, the zapper? Excellent. So, hello everyone. How are you all doing? Are you still awake again? Yeah. So it's been a while. It's been a year. I can't believe it. A year went by, and most of us, we haven't seen each other in a year. They don't let us out of the cage that often. And the reason for why is, of course, because we've been working hard. So I hope we have some interesting news to show you. And so I'm going to talk about my favorite area, which is CRM customizations. And this is what we have been working on for a while now. And those of you who are working with development, or maybe a lot of other areas in life as well, you know that sometimes you're trying to build something and you're working hard and it feels a bit like this. You know, it doesn't really fit, and you're building something here, but it doesn't fit in there, and it can be challenging. But completely objectively, I think that what we have got going now is more like this, because, and yeah, I know it is very subjective, but right now we're working with some different technologies for customizing, and I really feel like it fits together, and we're sitting and we're looking at it, and we get like, yeah, this is cool, and we can actually also benefit from it over here. And we're starting to get towards a very, in my humble opinion, decent platform for customizing our product. So that feels good. But before I talk about myself, I'm going to talk about you guys. What is your purpose? Where do you guys fit in to the SuperOffice CRM strategy? What is your position, right? And I have a friend, actually, a guy in Germany. He works also CRM consultant, different CRM product. But anyway, he once told me, we are like the AMG. You know, these guys who pimp rides, right? They make their regular car much more special, right? They're taking standard vehicles and making them very stylish, polished, extra, rims and everything. And that, I think, is kind of what you guys are, right? You are taking our standard product, maybe a little bit boring here, but it's a fully functional product, and you guys style it. You make it look a bit more awesome. And that is, honestly, you guys have the funniest job, because you are out there, you are talking to the customer, you're listening to their needs, and you're sitting there, how can I make this work? I'm going to take this feature, customer has this process, I'm going to see how I can make this work out. And I think that's a very fun task to do. And it makes sense. I remember one of our old eJournal customers, one call, telecom company, 150 agents sitting there responding to customer calls. Obviously, the standard off-the-shelf functionality will not be optimal for them, right? By having consultants who optimized their solution, they saved, many year-persons of work, because they could really get the product to fit the customer's need. And so I think doing that is actually a lot of fun. Sometimes, some of you, go a bit too far, right? And I think we've all seen this, right? We've seen the CRM product that has been, tweaked into a travel agency software or whatnot. And I think, actually in SuperOffice, I think we're pretty good at being responsible. Honestly, where I came from in eJournal, we would tweak, everything out of the software. And we had some customers where, it was short of being integrated with a coffee machine, it would be integrated with everything in that business. So that's kind of going too far, but I think it's not going to go. Going back to this, I think customizing software really makes sense. It's good for the customer because they're getting a software that is more optimal for them. They are getting more value out of using the software. If they would be using the standard software, that's great, but if they are using a an optimal product, that's good for them. It's also good for us, because a customer who has a tailor-made software, a software that is really, really tweaked and optimal for their processes, they're going to stick with that software, right? They're not going to change it out. So we get very loyal customers when we are able to adapt to their specific needs. So that's a good thing. So all we need to focus on is being responsible and doing this the right way. Not creating, the spaghetti monster that's impossible to upgrade because it's, linked everywhere, but doing this kind of by the book. And I even came up with a term for that. I think we can call that sustainable customizations. And sustainable is kind of a buzzword. Everyone is talking about sustainability when it comes to the environment and so forth. But honestly, sustainable has to do with choosing a solution that's fixing our problem right now, but that also works in the long term, right? And you know how it is very often. Sometimes when you really just want to fix something and you create a solution right now with duct tape and rubber bands, and maybe it breaks down a little bit down the road, right? So sustainable customizations. Should be okay. Is there any sound now? Yeah, it's working. So, sustainable customizations, I think is something we can work on. And it's kind of a responsibility that we share together, right? I mean, we have to supply you with some tools that allow you to create sustainable customizations, and you guys need to work within the preferred method of customizing. Because I think we all know, if we don't offer you a good path to walk on. I mean, I've been in your shoes. I've sat out there with a customer saying, I think we might buy this, but we just really need to fix this little thing. You guys will do whatever it takes to fix that little thing, right? So if we don't offer you the right path to do that, then you guys will, go like this, obviously. So it's a shared responsibility. We need to offer you tools. You guys need to use the tools, and then I think customizing is very beneficial for all of us. And so let's have a little look at the SuperOffice toolbox. And I have a vision kind of for how a good toolbox should be for you guys. But I think, for instance, one rule should be, if what you need to do is simple, like it's a small customization, then that should be simple to make, right? If we offer you very powerful tools, but honestly, you just really want to, make sure a value in your field is okay, you shouldn't have to use this really powerful tool. There should be a more elegant solution, right? So there need to be precise tools that allow you to intercept into our solution and adapt just a little thing that you need to make it work for the customer. If all you have is a hammer, then everything is going to look like a nail. But, that's not necessarily the case. I think we're in a good direction right now when it comes to this. Let's have a look at the platform that we're offering when it comes to customizations. And, oh, by the way, I don't have too many more slides. I was actually, Erik told me that, last year you shown only videos. That's kind of chicken. So he said, you need to show live. And then an hour ago he said, you understood that was a joke, right? So anyway, I have a few more slides, and then we're going to go to some live examples. And so I hope that's going to work out. Anyway, we're going to call what we have the SuperOffice Expander platform. And out there on the right, we have a box called APIs. And it's small here, not because it's small, because honestly, the SuperOffice APIs are large. I mean, we are really offering APIs for everything in our solution. I think our APIs are very professional. The box is small because it's out there on the side. I'm not going to focus so much on it. That's more Tony's area. He's going to talk about that. But I'm sure, how many of you guys here have been using SuperOffice APIs? Yeah, pretty much everyone. SuperOffice APIs are great, but there are things you cannot do with them, right? There are things that are difficult to customize with an API because you're kind of standing on the outside and remoting into the CRM solution on a business level and poking things. You know, the APIs are kind of the plugs at the back of the machine. You guys want to customize the front end of the machine. So I could say that in contrast to APIs, we have something we can call in-product customizations. Right? And those are the tools that allow you to customize inside the product. There is the config system. I think you should never forget about the config system or the preferences system because honestly, they are quite powerful. They allow you to modify a lot of things inside the system without doing a lot of work. So if you can get away with using a preference, for instance, then that's great. You didn't really have to tweak that hard. I'm sure some of you, for instance, have used the project and renamed to something else, car, boat, building, whatever. I mean, that's kind of a simple way to create another dimension inside the SuperOffice system. Then we have on the user interface area. So we have web panels, we have extra menus, we have the service custom screens, and up and coming is something we call Skill that you have heard about. And it's still a bit early, but Skill is hopefully becoming a framework that will allow you guys to modify the user interface in a simple way. So we think Skill is going to be a great way to create custom user interfaces in SuperOffice that you guys can develop, and that will have all the benefits of a modern user interface, web-based, snappy, running in the browser, and you should be able to tightly integrate with the rest of our standard interface, right? Same again, you guys should be able to intercept and inject and tweak just the small area that you would like. So I think Skill is going to be very interesting down the road, and we are talking about it tomorrow. Both Jørgen and Anders are doing presentations on how far we have gotten already. Inbox and chat are written using Skill, which allow them to run in both sales and marketing and service, and they're snappy, and they are, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but some of the responsiveness of those two areas are way better than the traditional user interfaces we have. So they're benefiting from Skill. Then there's the data part. We have user-defined fields, extra tables, and extra fields. That's kind of where we are right now, and we would love to zip that up further, but honestly, I think the biggest issue maybe we have here is not so much that we have two systems, but the fact that one set of fields is in the one client and the other set of fields and tables are in the other client. And so hopefully using, for instance, Skill, we could tighten that up and allow user-defined fields and extra fields and everything to live in both clients. And then honestly, I think we would get a far away with that. Then my favorite area, which is what we can call business logic. Business logic, that's where you guys go and customize the customer solution, right? That's how you get to modify the business logic, the heart of the CRM system. And for the business logic, we have something called triggers. Now, those of you who have played around with CRM script before, this is what we used to call event handlers. Triggers is a cooler name. Triggers is, kind of name used by some of our competitors. Triggers is kind of easier to understand. So triggers is basically what kicks off some kind of customization, some kind of business logic customization. So that could be a user clicking on an extra menu item, or it could be before or after save, when somebody saves a contact in CRM, right? It could be when a request is changed, when you receive an email from a customer. It could be scheduled, so it happens every Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning. It could be when a recipient of a e-marketing email clicks a link. And in a soon coming feature, it would also be, what happens when we create a form and we place it out on the web page and somebody fills out that form and clicks OK. A lot of the standard form solutions today only send you an email. You get an email with all the data, but given we actually have a CRM system, maybe we could do something a bit more funny about it. So triggers kick off some kind of automation. And then there are the actions. That's what happens, right? And that's where we have CRM script, and super macro. And so this is kind of the platform that we are offering today. I think that we have done recently quite a lot of work here, and we are extending this with a certain speed, which I think is really making this a powerful platform for you guys to develop on, to customize, to create CRM installations that are perfect for your customers' needs, right? We also have one more exciting idea. Guttorm was a bit just touching on it slightly. Currently, if you want to create an app in the App Store, you're over here, right? You need to use the APIs. You need to be on your own cloud and have some kind of multi-tenancy there, and you need to talk to SuperOffice CRM using our APIs, or maybe have a web panel inside SuperOffice. That's how it works today, right? All of this stuff is for one-off customizations. This is what you go out and you do consultancy work for one particular customer. We are thinking that it would be pretty cool if you could use all of this also in an app, right? Imagine if you could have, in our online environment, the possibility of creating an app that could utilize anything of this, and then any customer could purchase that app, and when they did so, all of your customizations would, boom, be installed inside their application. You would be able to have multiple versions, you would be able to see who's running what, and so forth. So that's just something could be interesting. Atle? Yeah. So, no promises yet, though, but it's interesting to think about, huh? Okay, so status of CRM script. And so I thought I would do some programming. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah. Some live stuff. And this is not my normal keyboard, so we'll see how it goes. And also, you can see it? Yeah. Stian and I, we have a theory that your capacity of typing on a keyboard is inversely proportional to the number of people watching you typing. And there's like 150 of you guys. So let's see. I think the most exciting thing that we have gotten lately is this. So CRM script is now inside the admin client. You have full access to CRM script if you have the Expander Services license. You don't need service users or anything like that. All of the capabilities of CRM script are available in the CRM client. So, yes, let's see if we can zoom a bit. Are we getting there? Yeah, something like this. So, and in CRM script, I showed you most of the stuff last year. There hasn't been huge improvements, but I want to address just a few small changes we have done.
Can you tell when you're moving to 8.2 instead of 8.1?
When you're moving?
If there's something here not released yet, you just mentioned?
Yeah, I'll do that. Most of this is released. A little bit of the stuff I have at the end is coming in, 2 weeks or so. As you can see, I'm running on the SOD environment, which is where it means the code is submitted. It is in the pipeline for release. So, is it possible? Let's see. I think I can do F11. Not what I wanted. Well, okay. So, one of the new things that we have gotten in CRM script, and this is of course a bit technical, but last year I introduced the support for structs, which is, allows you to structure data. And a little bit later throughout the year, we introduced the concept of methods in structs. And of course, we're never aiming for CRM script to become a competitor to, Java or C# or any of those professional languages. But still, though, I think it allows, we have partners who are using quite a lot of CRM scripts, and so we see the need for helping you to keep it a bit clean. And I think this little code here shows some of the cool stuff that you can, have in CRM scripts. So basically, Here I have a struct that's called yr, after the Norwegian Weather Service. It has data, and it also has encapsulated methods, right? So it has a method for getting the weather, and it has a method for getting the sun, and a method for getting the sunrise specifically. So you can create a class almost like this. This is almost like a programming class, right? That allows you some methods and work on local data. And so using it, you know, the script, yeah, that's the same one. Using it, you can have code like this. And I think now, from a scripting language, this is starting to become quite elegant. I have a very small script. I include my yr library. I create an instance. I'm getting the weather from Oslo. And it seems like I'm repeating myself, but that's just the way yr wants, you know, to get specified weather. It's the county of Oslo, and then it's the municipality of Oslo, and then it's downtown Oslo. So that's just the way they want it. And then I can print out here, yr get sunrise. That is a daytime, and convert that to string. So this concept of structs and methods allow you to create libraries of CRM script that you can actually utilize then in your installation, right? So it allows for a much cleaner development strategy. And if I run this, yeah, we can see that sunrise apparently today is 8:18. What I hope you also noticed is that this was an example of using HTTP in CRM script to connect to a REST service out there and fetch data. So in fact, if we go back and just look very quickly on the library here, you can see that here I am building a URL for the location. I'm getting a response from them, a string, and I'm parsing the XML. So basically, they offer a REST service that says, you know, send in the name of a place, and we will give you an XML that shows you all the kind of weather and sunrise and sunset and so forth for this place. And you can extract the data from that. One small little thing as well, we have, here's a new function, get node from path. I don't know if you guys can see it back there. But basically, we have also created some new utility functions that allow you to extract the data from anywhere inside either a JSON or an XML struct. So if any of you guys have been doing REST development or development using REST services, you probably know that, yeah, deep down into that structure I'm getting back, that's the thing I want. And we now have a method that will just let you get that through the path. So just some minor improvements to CRM script. Honestly, most of it came last year, but I think now CRM script is mature enough to be used for at least some decent customizations and implementations, and we try to help you work with it in a structured way. Let's go a little bit back here, and let's see if I can manage to continue the presentation. So that's the status of CRM script. Then we can move on to the new triggers. So triggers, as I said, that's basically how you kickstart a CRM script in the system. And that's, I mean, for those of you guys who are well known with this, you know that this is the most exciting thing we came with this year, because we now have triggers that can also trigger from inside the classic sales client, right? We can trigger, for instance, when somebody creates a sale in the web client. And some use cases of this is, for instance, you know, validation of input data, making sure that when you register a new customer, you want the organizational number or the VAT ID to be filled out, and it has to be 9 numbers and whatnot, stuff like that. You can do calculations, you know, for instance, when somebody creates a sale, maybe you want to show a pop-up that will show a kind of profit calculation on how good was this sale, what kind of margin do we have on it. You can use it to automatically create data. For instance, if I create a new sale, maybe I would like an appointment in 2 weeks' time, reminding me to follow up that sale, right? So you can automatically create an appointment based on the sale. You can use automated updating of data. Typically, let's say somebody enters an organizational number, and then you use REST to go and fetch all the rest of the stuff and fill it into the CRM system, so you don't have to type it manually, for instance. You can notify by email, and there's just a small thing that will allow us, we need to fix, and then you could use also the notification system of Pocket, I think, which would be cool. You know, you can do push notifications to people with cell phones. Or you can send emails with a report or an overview every night. So tons of different scenarios for what you can use the triggers for. How am I doing on time anyway? Yeah, way past. So when you are working with triggers, we have copied a pattern that is very common from, for instance, JavaScript. And it's that all the contextual information about when this script was triggered, all the contextual information is put inside a singleton object. So if any of you guys have developed in JavaScript, you know you can get an event object, and inside there's mouse coordinates and what key was pressed and all the information about what happened that kickstarted this event handler or this trigger. Same concept here. We have something called event data. Get event data, and then inside that object, you will find information about what kicked this trigger. So it contains currently, and this will probably grow with time, but currently it has tons of input values. So for instance, if you're registering a sale, and that triggers a trigger, it will contain sale entity amount. So that's the amount that was on the sale, right? Because in your trigger, you want to decide on something. You know, is the sale above 1,000 or below 1,000, for instance? So you get all that information will be in the input values. There's your own little storage space there, which is a state, which is where you can put stuff that you would like to process maybe later in another trigger. Then there's the output values. These are places where you can put values that should go back to the context, right? So again, typical scenario, you have a trigger that is triggered when somebody creates a sale. Maybe you want to modify the amount, or maybe you want to modify the status of the sale, right? So then you can put that into the output values. So maybe the most important one, the message. You can show a pop-up box back to the user saying that, this is not cool. And you can block the execution. In other words, you can actually say that, no, sorry, you don't get to save this sale. Something was wrong, some data was missing. And you can navigate to another area in the client. And so we have cleaned up a little bit in service so that the event data singleton is available also now for the old triggers that you have in service. For instance, when a new request is created or you get an email from a customer, stuff like that. So we are moving towards getting all the contextual information that you guys want to look at in your little snippet into the event data. So I'm gonna go back to here and try to create an example and see if we can get this stuff working. I think maybe it's... How many of you guys know of this? Yeah, so read about it, but yeah, okay. So but still though, it seems like there's a potential for showing you this, because then I think maybe you'll get the idea of why this is interesting. So, triggers. I will create a new trigger. We have cleaned up a little bit. So when you say you want to create a trigger now, you get a system that allows you to see, okay, what kind of event is it you want to trigger on, right? What is it that's going to happen that's going to kickstart your script? And so there's a lot of different events you can hook into here, right? So in my case, I want to say when you are before save. So before saving appointment, before saving stakeholder, before saving quote, blah, 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 before saving company, right? So that's the one I want to hook into. I want to actually modify so you guys don't get to save a company without the VAT number. Okay. Something like this. Mm-hmm. So if that guy is empty, That's not a lot of code, honestly. Right? And so if I apply this, sorry, gotta enable it and apply it. And then I think I have company here, Peter's Brewery Incorporated. Edit, save, and you don't get to save. So I think that's pretty easy, right? Now, obviously, you could argue that a CRM system with respect for itself should actually allow you to, specify this just using some kind of drop-down or checkbox or something, that this field is mandatory. But from my experience, use cases are often a bit more complicated because, honestly, who would want this in their system? You want to register a prospect, and you have to find the VAT number, right? Maybe we should limit it down so we only want to enforce this rule when you're saving a customer, right? Maybe that makes more sense. So by going over here, and we're saying so that if this one is empty, and
Can you set the focus?
set what?
Input focus?
No, not yet, but that's a very good argument that we should be able to set that. So we want the contact entity dot category dot value. And so this is slightly tricky. I need to search for the text customer because we have customer A and we have customer B, and also we have multi-language strings, right? So, but if I'm searching and I'm finding customer inside that contact entity category value, then we will enforce this rule. So we're turning that on. And so here, we didn't get to save this guy. If I change it to prospect, saving is fine. If we go back and say that, no, this is a customer, or maybe even this is a VIP customer, then you get the rule. I had another example here. I'm going to not code it because I see that time is going faster than I anticipated. Big surprise. So let's see. I was clever enough to create. Here we go. I have a script here, a trigger. So I'm going to enable that. Slightly more code. Basically what it's saying here is that if you are creating a new sale, so what we can look for here, first of all, you can see this is after saving a sale. I don't need to block anything, so I can just go afterwards, right? After the sale is saved, and we have a sale ID, absolutely. Then if it was a new one, then I'm going to create an appointment that's going to be called follow-up customer, and it's going to be today, but maybe here you can, you could go add day 3, so 3 days. So, okay. And that's it. So basically, this is typically NetServer code for creating an appointment. And I'm doing this if there's a new sale. So let's see if I can make this work. And we're going over here, Peter's Brewery. I disable the rules, so I should be able to save this guy. Yeah. And then we're going to go on sales and add. And let's see if I can do this. Here we go. New kettle, right? And that thing costs 999 kroner. And boom, we have a follow-up customer that's registered into the system. No, unfortunately not. And that's a very good point. It doesn't work in the Windows client, it doesn't work in the Pocket client. Now, we are really looking into how can we make these triggers, these event types, good. And the new ones that we have introduced here, which is kind of the first generation, are client close. They're close to the client. They're specifically for the web client. And it's kind of the first thing we did because that was easy and we could do it reasonably fast, and we thought that was maybe the first or the biggest need. But I really hope we will be able to introduce more trigger points in the reasonably near future, where you can go, for instance, on a lower level, right? So you can say that, yeah, when I create a sale, no matter what client I'm using. Of course, if you're doing that, no matter what client you're using, the possibility of communicating back to the client is not that straightforward. So there are some trade-offs here, right? But I really hope we will be able to add more trigger points in the future so that you can, hook in where you want to hook in. So currently, it's just for user interface saving these entities in the web client.
Will the old scripting still be available? Will it be removed eventually?
Well, sorry, when will?
The old scripting, web scripting.
Right, the old web scripting. Old web scripting is not going away, I think, but we are not offering web scripting in our online environment due to security reasons. So, as long as you're scripting on your on-site installation, that's great. But in online, this is the platform we're offering you because we control the scripting environment. Okay, so these were some examples of simple event handlers or triggers. Let me show you a little bit we did here also with debugging. So for debugging, we actually have introduced slight modifications to the user interface. So I'm going to go into the debugger. I'm going to debug this script, and I am hooked into it here. And then we're going to go into CRM, and we're going to create a new sale for this guy. New sale. And he needs a new something, right? And as you can see, it's not working at all. How about that? Why didn't it work? Create follow-up for new sale. I created a breakpoint here. Yeah, that's the demo environment talking to me. No. So what I wanted to show you, which is a pretty cool feature, is that the debugger allows you to debug these triggers or scripts in real time. We have fixed it a bit, so you can slide here on the side, and we give you a detailed view of variables, so that variables now show you better information about what is going on in the script. And you can step through the script, and you can see the variables as they're executing. Now, the problem with debugger, how many here has anyone here used the debugger now after a new version, Morten? So a few people. The tricky part about the debugger is that you have to be present when you are debugging, right? You need to attach the debugger, and while you're debugging, you're kind of on a limited time, because if you use too much time debugging, then eventually the process will die, and this is while the other thing is waiting. So debugging is about, looking at the script's behavior in real time, which sometimes can be tricky. And in particular, if you guys have created REST services or scheduled tasks or stuff that, goes off here and there, it's difficult to attach to the script. So we have created another new feature, which is called tracing. Tracing is about not real-time debugging, but rather post-execution debugging, basically saying that I would like to monitor this script, I would like to record whenever it's executed, and so afterwards I can come and look at what happened. So I'm sure all of you have done some kind of programming, you know about writing to the log file. Yeah. Which, damn it, I'm logging here, and something went wrong in the middle. Okay, so I need to log some more, right? So you keep adding more log information. And after finally your script looks like a Christmas tree. So tracing helps you with this. So let's see, we have this create follow-up for new sale here. I hope this is going to work. And I say I want to trace this script. And I'm going to create a trace filter. So here I'm saying that it gives a name. I can limit it for users. Do I want all the users of the system or a particular user? Trace resolution is basically, you know, how frequently during that script's execution should you take a snapshot of what's going on. And so 1 is default value, which means, you know, every single thing that happens in that script, I want to log. How long do you want to keep those traces? Because they actually do take a little bit of space. And if you want to turn the thing on. So if I'm going like this, I now have a trace installed. Currently, I have no executions registered. And then let's see if this thing works. Crossing my fingers. And boom, we have a trace. So as you can see here, it says that associate EE, that would be me, executed this particular script at today 15:56, right? And it took 243 milliseconds to execute and blah, blah. And if I go back and I do more of these, it's a very expensive unit, then we will keep getting more of these. Right, so you can set up a trace, and when all of your users who are using the system, just using it like normal, they don't notice anything. There's a slight penalty, obviously, for logging this, but honestly, it's virtually nothing. It really, from my experience, it does not make the script a lot slower. And then you can go and look at one of these. It opens up in the debugger, and then you can move forward and backward and look at the execution of this script as it was executed back then. And you can investigate variables, such as the event data variable that contains all the input values. I can open this up, and I can look at input values. And with a bigger resolution, it would have been easier. Here, I could see all of the different values that was sent in to this event handler, this trigger, right? So it allows you to, you know, go back and forth through the script and see what happened when it was executed.
Excellent for logging.
I think so.
One question, customer service script, you have the possibility to publish only for you scripts.
Publish only for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have this. You have the staging feature, and it's for regular scripts. Staging is not enabled yet for triggers, but we will fix that, so you can stage triggers obviously for yourself as well. Also, actually, one thing I forgot to mention is fixed in the debugger. In the tracing is now it will also go into included scripts. So if I had included my Eide script to go in there, you can actually step, and it will show you inside those included scripts, just like a normal debugger. So it gives you a very good, detailed drill down capability of seeing what went down. So yeah, changing volume, that's not what I wanted. Just go and click here. Okay, so we have showed you some scripting capabilities and some debugging capabilities, and this is, of course, very cool, but I'm sure you guys have noticed that on the internet the past few years, there has been a growth of services that offers customization or workflows without the code, right? Visual, it's called visual programming. And, you know, we have Zapier. Some of you might have seen that. If this, then that. Microsoft Flow, Yahoo Pipes was one of the early ones. Automate IO. There's a plethora of services that allows you to create workflows by visually connecting thingy 1 to thingy 2, right? And we actually have a similar tool inside SuperOffice because, you know, sometimes it would be great if some of the stuff that we did right now could be done without even having to code. That would make, you know, lower the bar a bit, make it a bit easier. And it's called Super Macro. And how many here, has anyone here ever used a Super Macro? Tons of you guys. Fantastic. You know how it works, right? So super macro is just trying to fill the gap between simple preferences when that's not strong enough, and CRM script when that is a bit too complicated. And the idea is super macros are actually, it is CRM script at the core. It's just that we put kind of a facade on top that allows you to specify values by using input fields instead of having to code. And the word super macro is actually very clever because super is obviously first super office, and also it's super, which means above. Nobody got that. First time Erik Eide heard it, he was like, yeah, isn't that a game? So we are back again. You know how it goes. Name change. CRM script macros. And that just makes more sense because it's CRM script, and we create a macro out of it, which makes it a little bit more easier to execute. And it kind of fits better in the bigger picture. So super macro is now dead. New version is CRM script macro. And we respect the tradition of introducing some new features when we change the name. So let's go and look at that. Has anyone here, yeah, I ask you actually, a lot of you guys have used CRM script macros. What is the biggest problem with CRM script macros, except from the old name? What is the biggest reason that makes them too limited? Dependencies? Yeah, exactly. Because you don't always want to execute something, right? So, we have introduced CRM script with dependencies. So let's go back and see if we can do some of the cool stuff that we did with CRM script with macros. And so let's see, go back, tracing, and we have triggers. And I'm just going to go and disable this guy so that all of them are now disabled. Triggers. So all of these guys are now disabled. None of this is running, right? And so I want to create a trigger that will block saving a company if the VAT number is empty. New trigger macro, and that's going to be, before saving a company. And so block empty VAT number, right? I'm going to enable that. And so this is now how you can choose among the tasks. If you remember in super macro, you can choose different kind of tasks, which is, different thingy that's going to execute. And we have a new one that's called, what's it going to called? I hope it's here. Set trigger response. Oh. And now if always, and we don't want always, we want something that doesn't fit in this screen. If all the conditions are true. And so, basically, I'm saying here that the organization number is empty. Then we want to block the save with you must fill out VAT number. Right? You guys see the logical flow of this? I'm going to zoom one down so you can still read it, can't you? I hope, yeah. And you can create more actions, but we're thinking that for most cases, one single action of a macro will probably cut it. And of course, here, if I wanted to, because actually we wanted this for customers, right? So I also want to specify that their category contains customer, right? So if all the conditions are true, if the organizational number is empty and the category contains customers, then set the trigger response, block the save, and give a message. And it's enabled, and I'll try to apply the bastard. And let's see over here, we have company, Peter's Brewery, and they are a customer, and they don't have a number. Woo! So I think that's a pretty user-friendly way of creating a very business-specific rule. So I'll do one more example, and then I'll be done. So let's see this guy. I'm going to go with the prospect so I can save him. Triggers. We're going to create a new trigger, a macro, and it's going to be after saving a sale. Okay, so notify of large sales, right? And so we are going to send an email or SMS, and we're going to say that if the, not that one, amount is greater than 1,000 and is new, is true, then we are going to send an email. Yeah. Ka-ching to Gisle at superoffice.com. And then the text message is going to be, hi, a new sale entity heading was just registered with amount, sale entity amount by sale entity created by full name. Awesome. And that's all you need to do to create a trigger that will automatically email Gisle large sales, what was the name of the sale, who registered it, and what was the amount. Last slide, Tony. Let's see. So, conclusion is as follows. We think customizations are awesome because they make happy customers who stay loyal. We really want to work on expanding this platform and make it even more flexible and attractive for you guys to make good and sustainable customizations. We are working on the scripting language and making it more powerful, allowing you to connect to weather services or whatnot. And we also now support simple macros. If you remember back at the toolbox, I said if you want to do something simple, it should be simple to create it. And I think CRM script macros are doing that. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break and come back, and I will try and wrap this up as quickly as possible.